Hi! This instructional video is about solving quadratic equations. Solving quadratic equations by factoring. And we're going to use a thing called the AC factor method. Let me demonstrate how that works. First, the A. What times what will give you a 6? Well, the possible combinations are 1 and 6, or 2 and 3. If you multiply them, that'll give you a 6, the A coefficient. Next question is, what times what will give you a 15? And the possible numbers are 1 and 15, and 3 and 5. And I think that's it. And here's how this works. We're going to multiply these possible factors, and whatever you add or subtract will give you a 33. That's the proper factorization. And I'm going to use a thing called gut instinct. Gut instinct, yeah. Here it is. I see it right away. I'm going to combine or multiply the factors 2 and 3 with the factors 1 and 15. And I could see that if I multiply the 2 with the 15, that will give me 30. And if I multiply the remaining numbers 3 and the 1, that will give me 3. And if I were to add them, they will become negative 33 if their signs were both negative. And so, how does 2 times 15 become negative 30? Well, the 15 has to be negative. And how does 3 times 1 become negative 3? The 1 has to be negative. And now I am ready to put them in a factor form. The A are the x square coefficient numbers. So that has to be 2x and 3x. Because later on, to check the answer, if we do the distributive property, 2x times 3x will give you 6x squared. And now, in order for the 2 to multiply negative 15, they cannot be in the same parentheses. Because the FOIL method doesn't work that way. It has to go the other way. So the negative 15 has to come on this parentheses with the 3x, and then negative 1 has to come over here. And that is the proper factor form. Now to solve it all the way, we use a thing called zero product property. Zero product property. So we take each binomial and set it to 0. Or 3x minus 15 is equal to 0. And those are the two x-intercepts. Solve it for x, so you get 2x is equal to 1, and divide the 2. One of the x-intercepts is at 1/2. And this one, when you add 15 and divide the 3, the other x-intercept becomes the 5. And that's how you find the x-intercepts using the AC factor method. Okay, why don't you try numbers 2 and 3? Okay, so all the multiples for 8 are 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. I think that's it. And for the negative 9, it's 1 and 9 or 3 and 3. And I'm going to use my gut feelings. Gut feelings. What are the multiples? When I combine them, will give me a 6. Let's see. I think 1 and 3 is going to be too big. And 1 and 8 with 1 and 9 is going to be either too big or too small. How about if I use, let's see. Here it is. How about if I multiply 4 times 3, which will give me 12, and 2 times 3, which will give me 6. And if I make 12 into a negative and 6 into a positive, that'll give me negative 6 in the middle. So how does 4 times 3 become negative 12? Well, this 3 has to be negative. And 2 has to multiply the positive 3 to give me a plus 6. Now I'm ready to put them in factor form. So the 2 and the 4 are the x terms. 2x and 4x. In order for the 2 to multiply with positive 3, it cannot be in the same parentheses. It has to be over here. That's the way the FOIL method works. And the remaining negative 3 will come over here, which will multiply to a 4 this way. That's the factor form. Now I'm going to use a zero product property to solve for x. And that'll be my x-intercepts. Those will be my solutions. So add 3 and divide 2, x will become 3 over 2. Subtract 3 divided by 4. This will become x equals negative 3 over 4, and those are my two x-intercepts. And finally, number 3. The possible multiples for 5 are 1 and 5. All right, I like it like that. So I don't have to choose. And 2 is just 1 and 2. Okay, now here we go. Well, 5 times 2 is going to be 10. That's not going to work, but 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. And if they're both negative, they'll combine to become negative 7, the b. In order for the 1 and 2 to give you a negative product like that, the 1 has to be negative, 2 has to be negative. That was simple. You just have to be careful that you put them in the right factor form. That's 1x, 5x. 1 times negative 2, but negative 2 cannot be here. It has to be over there. And so minus 1 goes with the x. That's the proper factorization. Now zero product property to solve for x. You add 1 of the x-intercepts is 1. You add 2 and divide 5, the other possible x-intercept is at 2/5. Whew! All right then. Now if you thought that was pretty complicated, why don't you try the next one? This one is going to be spicy, but you like it like that. Okay, try that one. Now, these equations, if you notice, they are not in standard form. So you have to apply some rules of algebra properties to put it back in standard form. For example, number 1, you have to move that 18 over to the left side to identify the a, b, and c. So we go minus 18. And when you put them in proper sequential order, we get 6x squared minus 23x minus 18 is equal to, well, on the right side, they cancel out, so it's 0. Now, it's a standard form quadratic equation. So we have 6, negative 23, and negative 18. We're going to use the AC factor method. And so we ask, what times what is 6? So you say 1 and 6, or 2 and 3. And how do you get 18? Well, it has to be 1 times 18, 2 times 9, and I think there's one more, 3 times 6. Oh boy, it's a crowded house here. And now you really have to use your gut instinct. You don't want to try every one and find a possible combination. That'll take too long. You just go with your instinct. So let's see. How do I multiply and then add to get a 23? Let's see. 3 and 9 is 27. I got lucky. I think this is it. Let's see. If I multiply 2 and 9 with 2 and 3, 3 times 9 is 27. And 2 times 2 is 4. And if I make 27 negative and 4 positive, if I combine them, that'll give me negative 23. Ta-da! And how does 3 times 9 become 27 negative? Well, 9 has to be negative. And 2 times positive 2 has to be positive. That'll give me a 4. But wait, let's check. Well then, will 2 times negative 9 give me negative 18? Yes. So there we go. We found the proper factorization. Just make sure you put them in proper order. We got 2x and 3x. The 2 has to multiply with the positive 2. For that to happen, positive 2 has to be on the second parentheses. And then you put negative 9 over here, because the FOIL method later on will be multiplied to get you a negative 27. Now we use a zero product property. 2x minus 9 is equal to 0, or 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. You add 9 and divide 2, x becomes 9 over 2. You subtract 2, divide 3, the other x-intercept will be negative 2 over 3. There you have it. All right, next one then. Wow. Here we go. You have to bring the negative 2x over and the positive 8 over by doing its inverse. So we got plus 2, 8. Let's do this simultaneously. Minus 8 to both sides of the equation. Plus 2x and then minus 8. So what I get on the left side is 10x squared, combine the like terms. X and 2x become 3x. Negative 10, negative 8 become negative 18. And that has to equal everything on the right side cancels out. So 0, there's my standard form. Now I could use the AC factor method, list all the multiples that gives me a 10. That give me a 10, which is 1 and 10, and 2 and 5. And the 18, just like before, 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 3 and 6. Now here we go. Gut instinct, here we go. Let's see. 5 and 2 is 10. And 2 and 9. This time it did not work. How about 5 and 5? Oh, I think I see it. 5 and 3 is 15. 2 and 6 is 12. And if I make 15 into a positive and 12 into a negative, they would combine to become positive 3, the B term. And 5 times positive 3 is 15. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. So there it is. So now I'm going to put them in factor form. That's 2x and that's 5x. Yes, they're always positive. We're always worried about making this into positive or negative, the C. The 5 has to multiply with 3 positive, so I cannot put them together, so 3 comes over here. So negative 6 goes over here, so that later on we go 2 times negative 6 will give me negative 12. So solve for x by using zero product property. In this case, subtract 3, divide 2, I get x is equal to negative 3 over 2. Here, add 6, divide 5, I get x is equal to 6 over 5. There's my 2 solutions for this equation. And finally, number 3, same thing. Okay, let's do this simultaneously again. Add 4x and minus 2. Add 4x minus 2. On the left side, I get 28x squared. Negative 9 and positive 4 gives me negative 5x. Negative 1, negative 2 is negative 3. On the right side, cancels out to become a 0. It's a standard form now. So I'm going to use my AC factor method. Oh boy, this is huge. So we go 1 and 28. 2 and 14. Does 3 go in there? No. 4? Yes. 4 times 7 is 28. How about 6? Does 6 go in there? No. I think that's it. And phew, luckily this one is an easy one. What times what is 3? 1 and 3. Now let's mix and match. We're trying to get a 5 in the middle. 3 and 28. No, that's too big. So that's not gonna work. You cross it off. 6, 3 and 2 is 6, no, that's not gonna work. So this is it. Okay, here it is. 7 times 1 is 7. 4 times 3 is 12. How does 7 and 12 become a negative 5? Well, if 12 is negative, 7 is plus. And how does this become a negative 12? 4 times negative 3. 7 times positive 1. There it is. With that one. Factor form. Be careful now. Let's not make a mistake on the finish line. 4x. 7x. And 4 times 3. So the 3 doesn't go here. It will not multiply, so put it over there. plus 1. Zero product property. 4x plus 1 is equal to 0. 7x minus 3 is equal to 0. Subtract 1, divide 4. X equals negative 1/4. Or add 3, divide 7. X equals 3 over 7. Whew! There it is.